Houses don't kill people. People kill people. George Lutz, The Amityville Horror, 2005. Based on a true story is a phrase used liberally when it comes to movies. Sometimes the statement denotes a real event told in a more visually appealing way. Other times it just means writers and producers take inspiration from real-world events. But that's where the similarities end. People sometimes take that simple phrase as gospel, but continue on without ever learning what the real events actually were. The real story of the Amityville Horror begins on September 26, 1951, with the birth of Ronald DeFeo Jr. He would be the first of the DeFeo's 5 children, and as such, had a lot of expectations on his shoulders. Ronald DeFeo Sr. was a successful car salesman who worked at his father-in-law's Buick dealership. He was domineering and often fought with his wife, Louise, and his children. Most of his ire was directed at his firstborn child. Ronald didn't just get abused at home. As a child, he was overweight and sullen, which led to classmates bullying him. His attitude and behavior did not improve as he grew. Ronald began retaliating against not only his bullies, but also his family and friends. His use of physical force against his father and a few friends resulted in the family taking Ronald to a psychiatrist. But Ronald didn't like visiting the psychiatrist. He said that he didn't need help and eventually stopped seeing his doctor. In hopes of keeping their son's behavior in line, the DeFeos started bribing Ronald Jr. They offered him cash and presents, including a $14,000 speedboat. The bribes only made his behavior worse. By age 17, Ronald was addicted to LSD and heroin. He had violent outbursts that caused him to be expelled from school. And yet, his parents continued to reward him. When he turned 18, he was given a high position at his grandfather's dealership. He also received a weekly stipend from his father, regardless of his work performance and attendance. Not that there was much of an expectation for him to do his job or even show up. Ronald spent his undeserved money selfishly. He poured it into his car, which was another gift from his parents: guns, alcohol, and drugs. Throwing money at him and ignoring his problems only allowed Ronald to get worse. While on a hunting trip with friends, Ronald threatened one of them with a rifle. He then pretended like nothing happened. Later, during another one of his parents' fights, he tried to shoot his father with a 12-gauge shotgun. He pulled the trigger at point-blank range, but the gun malfunctioned. His father was startled, and the argument stopped. And still, nothing would change. In 1974, Ronald believed he wasn't getting paid enough. So, instead of doing the smart thing and simply asking for more, he decided a robbery would be the better choice. In October, the dealership entrusted Ronald with a bank deposit worth more than $20,000. He and a friend planned a fake robbery and agreed to split the money. Everything went perfectly. Until the police showed up at the dealership. When officers asked Ronald questions, instead of answering in a calm fashion, he flew into a rage. The police were rightfully suspicious of him. When they asked him to come to the station to look at mugshots of suspects, he refused. Ronald Sr. also suspected his son had committed the robbery. He questioned his son about his lack of cooperation, which did not go well. Ronald Jr. threatened to kill Ronald Sr. He would act on that threat on November 13, 1974. Around 3 a.m., Ronald retrieved a .35 caliber Marlin 336C lever-action rifle from his secret gun stash and went on a killing spree. First, he went into his parents' bedroom, where he shot Ronald Sr. and Louise twice each while they slept, killing them. Next, he went into his brother's room, killing 12-year-old Mark and 9-year-old John with one shot each. He then went to each of his sisters' rooms, killing 18-year-old Dawn and 13-year-old Allison with a single point-blank shot each. All 6 murders only took Ronald 15 minutes. With his entire family dead, Ronald showered and got ready for work. He put the gun, bloody clothes, and cartridges into a pillowcase and dropped them in a storm drain around 6 a.m. Once he got to work, he called home and pretended not to know why his father didn't come to work that day. Around noon, Ronald got bored and left work to hang out with his friends. He made sure to tell everyone who would listen that he had been unable to reach anyone at home. He needed to make sure he had an alibi. Then, around 6:30 p.m., Ronald entered Henry's Bar in Amityville, Long Island, and declared, "You've got to help me. I think my mother and father are shot." With a small group of people in tow, Ronald returned to the house at 112 Ocean Avenue, a short distance from the bar. The group found Ronald Sr. and Louise dead in their bed. Ronald's friend, Joe Yeswit, called the Amityville Police Department. As Ronald was the only surviving member of his family, the police took him into custody for his protection. He was interviewed by detectives. He told them he believed mafia hitman Louis Fellini was responsible for his family's murders. His father had ties to the mafia and had been doing business with them through the dealership. He explained to detectives that he went to work early because he had been unable to sleep. He claimed he was certain his family was still alive when he left. The more he talked, the more his multiple versions of events conflicted. Ronald was held overnight for his own safety. The next day, police confirmed that Fellini had an out-of-state alibi. Following this, Ronald confessed to the murders. He said, "Once I started, I just couldn't stop. It went so fast." He admitted that once he killed his family, he showered, changed, and disposed of the evidence, the location of which he told investigators. Ronald claimed voices from the house turned him into a killer. He was a heavy drinker and drug user at the time, so his claim may have had some credibility in his mind. He was arrested and charged with the murders of his parents and siblings. Ronald's trial began on October 14th, 1975. He and his defense lawyer, William Weber, chose to use an affirmative defense of insanity. He claimed he had no memory of the murders he had previously confessed to. While Daniel Schwartz, the psychiatrist for the defense, supported the insanity plea, the prosecution's psychiatrist, Harold Zolan, did not. Dr. Zolan said that although Ronald used LSD and heroin, he also had antisocial personality disorder and was fully aware of his actions. Trial Judge Thomas Stark declared Ronald's crimes were the most heinous murders committed in Suffolk County since its founding. On November 21st, 1975, Ronald DeFeo Jr. was found guilty of 6 counts of second-degree murder. He was given his sentence of 25 years to life on December 4th. Ronald was held at Sullivan Correctional Facility in Fallsburg, New York, until his death in 2021 at age 69. His cause of death was never made public. The story of Ronald DeFeo Jr. and the Amityville murders was surrounded in controversy. Strange inconsistencies in the investigation and varying testimony made people question events. To begin with, all 6 victims were found face down in their beds, and there were no signs of a struggle. Ronald didn't use any sound suppression, and there was no evidence to indicate sedatives had been administered, even though he claimed to have drugged his family. No motive was ever established for the murders, but people speculated it may have been financial. One of Ronald's retellings of events had Dawn killing Ronald Sr., which set Louise off, and then she killed Dawn, Allison, Mark, and John before he killed her. He said he took the blame to avoid speaking ill of his mother because he was afraid his grandfather and his father's uncle would try and kill him. The uncle in question was Peter DeFeo, a capo for the Genovese crime family. Another version of Ronald's story once again framed Dawn as a killer, but she had the help of an unknown assailant. After this, an affidavit was sent to the court from a man named Richard Raimondo, who was later proven to be a fictitious person. Later, when Ronald was being interviewed by author Rick Osuna, he told yet another version of events. He claimed that he and Dawn killed their family with the help of friends Augie DeGeneiro and Bobby Kelsky. He said they did this because his parents were planning to kill him. Despite the heinous crime that Ronald committed, the true legend of the Amityville house wasn't cemented until George Lutz, his wife Kathy, and their 3 children spent 28 days in the house. They were the first family to live in the house since the murders. They moved in December 1975 and left in January 1976. During their short stay, they claimed to be tormented by paranormal events and said the house was haunted. Many people believed the family, but others speculated that the stories they told were entirely fabricated by George and his lawyer for profit. None of the people who lived in the house at 112 Ocean Avenue after the Lutzes had any claims of anything strange happening. Yet, the legend of the house being haunted lived on because people love a ghost story. Dozens of books and movies spawned on the back of the gruesome murders of an entire family. The true story of the very real people who lived in the house and died at the hands of their greedy, drug-addicted son and brother is often overshadowed by the story told by the Lutz family who followed. No matter if George Lutz is credible and the events he and his family described at 112 Ocean Avenue truly happened, or if the Lutzes just wanted their 15 minutes of fame, the true story of 6 murders is just as horrifying as the whispers in the walls.